What a great opportunity to discuss such an important topic. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our panel. First, we have Houda Loukili. Houda grew up in the Netherlands and started kickboxing at the age of 11. And since that, she's followed her passion to become a trainer for Favela Street Foundation. Her knowledge and expertise means that she really knows how to reach kids and get them moving literally, I understand. And welcome to our second panel member, Ambokile. Ambo was a basketball player and has followed his passion of helping young people develop and reach their potential. This has been achieved through a 15-year career where he's worked in primary schools, secondary schools, community, with youth offenders and at national league level. So welcome to Houda and to Ambo. We're going to kick off straight away with Houda and Ambo and start with our questions. So let's start with you, Houda. How do you prepare yourself before a coaching session, and why is that important to prepare?
Thank you, Viv, and thank you to be here with all these people. Preparing the session is very, very important, and the thing what I do is I always look at the starting point of my group that I coach. I individually look at every girl on how far they are, and not only with sports, but also the personal situation. As an example, a girl who might be great at basketball, lacks maybe in social skills. So while training, she has some issues communicating with other girls, and knowing this beforehand helps me and the coachee with solving the issues or going through challenges. So a lot of things also happen naturally based on feelings, and that's why it's always able to improvise. But it's necessary to prepare the session, and so.
Yeah, great. And I love the way that you explained that it's not just their physical or sports skills you're looking at their social skills as well, and the importance of preparing for what might occur when you're there.
Exactly.
Ambo, welcome. What about you? How do you prepare yourself for a coaching session, and why do you think it's really important?
First of all, hi Viv, and hello to everyone who's tuned in. Preparing for a coaching session, I start with an end goal and what I want to come out the session with. So, for example, it could be I want to make sure everyone leaves with a smile on their face, which means they've had fun. And then I also have some key goals in there, very similar to Houda in terms of metacognitive skills, social skills, or any barriers that they may face. But I kind of plan for a good ending and then work backwards from there, really.
Brilliant. And I think both of you have highlighted the importance that even though you have starting points and end points, that you're considering the needs and the development of every kid individually throughout the session, which is great. That's inclusion at its best. So let's have another question then. And Amber, I'll kick off with you on this one. How do you make new kids feel welcome and safe? Getting them through the door, how do you make them feel welcome and safe?
I think mainly by coming across welcoming as an individual. So we know that the first session is always daunting, and that first step for them even walking through the door, or the fact that they got in the car or however they got there was, well, you know, they had just loads of uncertainties with it. So breaking that barrier down by being welcoming already, you know, high fives, hello, what's your name? You know, what do you like to be called? All these different things, so that you get a better understanding of who that individual is or individuals are.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ambo. Houda, what about you? How do you make them feel welcome and safe?
Right away, taking them into the group by doing an introductory round. It's very important for me. And just like it's written in the coaching guide, I try to make, for me, it's especially the girls, feel safe and welcome by have open vibe and also celebrating differences, because the first experience is always essential to girls for coming to the next sessions. And if the first is good and everyone feels comfortable, they will most likely come back. So there's a lot of time and space to talk with each other and to see what they like, and to do that in the class.
Brilliant. And you mentioned there, you mentioned the Made to Play coaching guide, and there's a real important section in there which talks about connection. Ambo, you talked about how you need to create that connection and make people feel really welcome when they arrive and get to know them. And Houda, you talk about not only yourself, but also how the girls or the group get an opportunity to talk to each other. And that in itself is really important. And what about making it safe for them? What does that mean for you? How do you interpret that? What about you, Houda?
How I make it safe?
How you make it safe for them?
Yeah, that you can be who you are. So it doesn't matter if you talk a little bit, or if you talk not loud enough, or if you don't want to look at the teacher, or maybe it's in the beginning a little bit scary for you or something. So the most important thing for me is that the boy or girl or the kids can be themselves. And so I can give them a safe space. And also for me, it's also important that no one else can come without they asking to me. So when I say to the kids, I'm the teacher, or someone else is a teacher, so it's very important that that the team is always the same. And if there's someone else who is coming, then I first of all I let the kids know, and then they can choose if they want it or not.
Brilliant. So you talk a lot there about letting them be who they are. And Ambo, you talked about high fives and celebrating everybody. Two really, really great strategies to ensure that kids feel safe and welcome. So Ambo, this is one I know you've had experience of, and I'm really looking forward to your answer on this one. How does your experience of coaching girls differ from your experience of coaching boys?
Yeah, so it's my experience coaching boys is quite extensive in terms of it stems from many years, and the girls is very, very small in relation to that. But the opportunities that I've had when I'm coaching girls, I act a little bit goofier. So I'm more open to letting them just be themselves, in terms of, you know, I'm not your teacher in terms of I do everything right. I'm allowed to make mistakes as well, and so are you. So it's kind of giving them that opportunity to not to overthink when they're doing something and it has to be perfect the first time. I kind of give them that freedom and create that positive environment when they're doing it.
Great, that's a great one, because we know girls sometimes feel they have to feel perfect all the time. Social media does a lot of that, and they feel they have to live up to a certain image. So that real evidence of allowing them to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes and be themselves, is a great one. What about you, Houda? How's your experience been coaching girls as boys?
I have now 17 years of experience with coaching boys and girls. So 17 years ago, I started with this. And personally, I don't see, for myself, when I'm for the group, I don't see a big difference, because the most important thing is that I'm the same person. So that's for kids very important, that I'm authentic. So that's very important for them, and so I treat them the same. But maybe it's also because I'm a female, so maybe it's a little bit easier also with girls to connect with them. And if I had to think about one thing that's really different, then I would say talking, because my girls and I love chit-chatting. So, and of course also boys, but with the girls I'm chit-chatting a lot.
Yeah, that's great. And girls do like to talk. And I think you've said before that you give them opportunity to talk to each other as well in the session. But I also like the fact that you talk about that some things are the same for boys and girls. But the really important point you made is that you don't treat them differently. They're equally valued.
Yes, that's very important for me.
Yeah, good one. So here's on, Amber, I'm going to ask you again first, seems that you've had a lot more experience working with boys than girls. What would you have liked to know more about before you started coaching girls? What would have helped you?
I think Houda touched on it a little bit as well, is that there aren't that much difference. So it was, I think I built things up in my head when I was going into coaching a girls session. Oh, do I have to make sure I'm perfect? Do I have to make sure all these things are aligned to make sure that the session is okay? And if, for example, someone didn't feel like doing it, it's fine to give them the space, just as you would if it was boys doing their session as well. So there isn't much of a drop off or a difference with the two. And I think when I started coaching and when I got my girls team, prior to actually doing this first session, it was a bit of anxiety in terms of, you know, I got to make sure I'm catering to a girl's needs, when really they're no different to boys as individuals.
Okay, that's a good one. But I think what you're alluding to there is that you had some a vision or expectation of what girls wanted, and perhaps knowing a little bit more that, you know, there are certain things that are just the same, or certain things that you built up in your mind which are just not true.
Yes.
Maybe you've got rid of your anxiety before you started.
Correct.
Yeah? Fantastic. What about you, Houda? What would you like to know more about before you started coaching girls? Or is it just a reflection of you and your experience as an athlete?
So I only can look at myself and at the time that I was starting. And the most important thing and advice for everyone is to be yourself. So also when you are on the group, and maybe it's for your new, or you are a new coach maybe. So it's most important the language with the kids. This, I think, the highlights. But using your ways makes it more personal, and the kids won't push through. And I think the other thing what's important, and we can do that better, is to stay in contact with parents, because they are the ones who decide or the kids come back to sport or not. And especially with girls, the parents are very special in this. And I think sometimes we forget them. So that's my advice. And for me, it was to stay myself also when I'm coaching.
Yeah, and I think just to clarify that a little bit, of course, you've come through as an athlete yourself, so you've experienced it. But I'm going to go back to you, Ambo. When you started coaching a girls' team, did you connect with parents? Did you think it was important to connect with parents, or has that not been an issue for you?
Absolutely. I think connecting with parents in general is important, but it wasn't really an issue, because my first priority was to connect with the girls in front of me, the individuals, and make sure that they were just as relaxed as I was. And again, I know I keep saying it, but that positive environment that they can feel safe in, and they can feel free to make mistakes, because we all can do that, and we clean them up as we go on.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to stay with you, Ambo, for next question and use your experience here. So if we look at a new coach who's just beginning to work with girls, what advice or top tips would you share with them to help them?
I would say have a plan, have an outcome of what you want at the end of the session, and then make sure that everything that's built around that outcome has something fun and engaging linked to it.
And would you also say perhaps that what you had said originally, the ability to connect to them and talk to them is a really good starting point for a new coach?
Yeah, and again, that starts right at the beginning. So that connection, making them feel like they can come to you if they are feeling a little bit off, or if they're worried about something during the session, and giving them that freedom to welcome an environment that they can tell you, I don't want to do this, or, I feel more comfortable doing it a certain way.
The top tips from you are: have a plan and a clear outcome, make them feel safe and welcome, connect to them, and make it fun and engaging.
You made that sound so much better than I did.
No, great advice from you. Houda, what about you? What are some of the top tips or advice you give to a new coach working with girls?
Yeah, I think a lot is, you said a lot of things. What I can add is make them feel that they matter.
Yeah.
Make them feel that they can give their, that they learn to say no if they don't want to do things. I'm always starting with a check-in. So not only how do you like this, but also how's your life today? What's your mood? So are you happy or not? And can I help you with something? So also not only the sport thing, but the whole package that the kids can take with them. And yeah, fun, it's very, very important. And that we can, when they have busy times at their home or at school, that we are flexible. I think a coach, it's very important for a coach to be flexible. So when a kid cannot come on 5 o'clock, but later because they have something very important, then it's okay. And not, we need to be flexible. That's what I want to say.
Brilliant. So checking in with them, love that. How are you feeling? Because that will affect how they'll perform and how much they enjoy the session. Connecting on that personal level. I love that little tip about being flexible, because we don't know what other things are affecting them outside. I think for me, one of the things that I learned as a coach was to think more holistically about competition when coaching girls, because not all girls want to compete team against team. Some girls are quite happy competing against themselves, i.e. improving themselves, or working in a team to be a better team. So thinking about the types of competition we give them sometimes might be quite useful. Great.
Exactly.
Both of you there, well done.
And one thing, Viv, it's very important, is to give them compliments, and not only some compliments, but the compliments you mean, and also about what are they doing. Not only you say, oh, your hair is very beautiful, but also you can put the ball very good to your mate. So
absolutely brilliant. Okay, Houda, you can start us off on this next question. What are some of the coaching strategies or techniques that you use as an experienced coach that really engage with girls?
Yeah, I think I have said a lot about the strategy. Yes, and to engage the girls.
Yeah.
That they can come to you every time they need, and not only at the session. So if they need you on the other day, it's okay, and then I am there for them. So I think that's very important to not only be a sport coach, but a coach for everything.
Brilliant.
And that they feel free, that they can come every time to me when they want.
What you're saying is a really important point. We've talked about connecting and creating connection, but being genuine, authentic, and someone that they can rely on. Great answer. What about you, Ambo? Are there any strategies or techniques that you think have really engaged the girls you work with?
I would say have a democratic approach in terms of giving them sense of ownership of the session as well, but ultimately you're in control.
Brilliant.
I've got a little example that I have with my daughter. What I do is, because she's the youngest of three, and she likes to be very, very bossy. So what I do in the mornings, for example, is I give her a choice of socks. She can wear the gray socks with the blue bow, or the gray socks with the purple bow. Either outcome, I've already chosen the outcome because I don't mind either sock, but she feels empowered because she feels like she's had a choice. So it's kind of similar when I do my coaching. I have different ways that I want the session to go, but ultimately they always end up at the same destination. So when I give them, the girls or even the boys at times, that empowerment of what, giving them a choice of what we want to do next, I'm giving them a choice. They feel like they're steering the ship in terms of the session.
Love it. Great example with your daughter. It's about giving them some ownership and some voice to help shape the session and what they want to do.
Yes.
So I'm coming on to the final question now, and the final question is about the end of a session. So let's start with you, Ambo. What are your go-to activities at the end of a session where you can create a buzz before the girls leave, so they go away on a high and they're roaring to come back to you next session?
I have a go-to game that we go to. It's called Golden Child. So what happens is it's a mixture between basketball and baseball. So that we have runners and then we have batters, but the batters are shooters. So they can get each other out whilst they're running around, and they really enjoy it because it's not just a knockout game, but there's a particular golden child that's selected on each team that can save everybody, and it brings the session right back. So you've got to make sure you have enough time, around 10 minutes before you finish, to do so. But they really enjoy that game because it's kind of a sense of coming together, and can this person that they've chosen save the rest of the team if they're out, and vice versa. So that it's kind of a really good go-to game that we finish on.
Great example. I'm going to take that one from you. And but what I really get from that, you do a great fun activity. It brings everyone together. They feel great when they leave and they can't wait to come back. What about you, Houda? Have you got an activity that you do or something you do that really makes the girls feel great?
We start always and end in a circle, and with sharing their thought about the lesson, and after that we do a checkout about how they are feeling when leaving, and the end game is always different because the girls or boys can choose the game that they want to play, and after that some girls like to hug, some want to give a hand, and some just wave. So I'm open to everything they want and need, and won't ever force anything into someone.
So again, another activity where everybody feels part of something and something they want to come back to. Thank you, Houda.
You're welcome.